Are
we on?
I think so, buddy.
Hello, everybody. It's season 2. We're back. We got renewed. Jason, they didn't cancel us.
Got some great commentary at the draft of people who said they watched every week. Others didn't say a word, but we had at least a few fans.
Yeah, at least some people would notice if we were just never on the air again. The air. How did you feel about the draft?
Man,
Like, I mean, in general, like the experience. I don't mean your draft. I'm talking about the ribs and the zooming and all of that.
I will say that my good friend Brandon Whiteside, who moved away from North Carolina, man, I think it's been 6 years ago, sent me a text and he said it's the most he's felt like he was part of the draft since he left town. And that felt really good to hear. So the room that we did it in and the ability for people to feel like they were Carr, Weiss, and Brandon away from us. I just love our league, A2. I just love it. I love that the 12 of us are going to make it a priority until, of course, we only pick our 16 players. And then we just want to just bail, well, having left 2 players to be picked up on the waiver wire later. I mean, I love the priority that the players in this league make it until, of course, they don't think they need to be there anymore. That, other than that, yeah, I love
the parachute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you think? You
I had a great time.
The ribs got to be mentioned multiple times. Huh? The ribs have to be mentioned multiple times.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I had a full belly with the ribs. I had the cheese dip. I went through that a couple times. I had mini cookies. Yeah, I'm not a potato salad fan, but I appreciate the people that bring those kind of things, the plates and the napkins, all that. It's great. No, it's cool. But I felt kind of bad for Chris a little bit. He was having to deal with a lot of headache. On the other hand, I was a little bit delighted just because it was like, aha, now you see. It's like it's like when the Hulk finally thrashes Thor and Loki's like, aha, that's what it feels like. Because you guys kind of did this to Chris.
My favorite Chris wore out. My favorite Chris moment was about 2/3 of the way through the draft when he exasperatedly says, "Sure, everyone should get a pause. Sure, we should pause for you. We should pause for you." And it was that dad anger that that just came out.
Yeah.
Rather than at his son at the 11 of us who were like not paying attention to the time clock.
Yeah, he was ready to turn this draft around right now.
I love it. I love it. It was great. Right. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. I mean, I probably like it better than the actual Super Bowl. Like it seems like for me, this is my Super Bowl of football.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because now hope is eternal at this point. All your guys are going to be stars.
That's right. They are.
So I thought we just go team by team. This is just the order that they're in on the website. I mean, they've got me listed first. It must be in some order of importance.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So despite the offseason from hell, I'm pleased with my draft. I had Dalton Kincaid as the number 3 dynasty asset that was in the draft. So I had kind of planned. I had the Kincaid plan, and then the if he didn't fall to me plan. It was like a choose my own adventure. So I was delighted when he was there at 8.
Well, you don't have to share because you may want to trade for him later. But who was your alternate Kincaid? If Kincaid was gone, who were you going to go with?
I liked Charbonnet a lot there. I think he's going to be good. You just never know. At pick 8, you don't know what's going to happen. There's way too many, as we saw. There's always surprises.
Right.
But I think if Kincaid can hit his prime, like hit his potential in his prime, it's going to be right about when Kelsey's dipping, and maybe I've got the new king, or maybe he's just the next OJ Howard. We'll see. We'll see.
Now, did you feel like the kid from Miami, do you feel like his shoulder injury early in the draft led him to be dropping all the way to you? Did you feel like Mendenhall kind of putting that information out there, do you feel like it led him to drop to you a little bit, or do you think it got him where you wanted him?
I mean, at that point, I just thought it was worth a lottery ticket. I don't love it. Obviously, you want your rookies to get reps in camp, and he's not getting them now.
Yeah.
I think it's the same reason Jameson Williams fell to me, because he's not getting any reps now because his hamstring, and So these are like lottery ticket guys. Like they could be keepers next year. There's a scenario where each of these guys are keepers. There's also a scenario where neither guy's on my team a month from now. So
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. Uh,
uh,
I didn't have a chance to go through this to check on who had the most players who were Caucasian, but
gotta be Chad.
With Matt Guy, Brock Purdy, Alex Pierce, and Dalton Kincaid, you're an early, and Joe Burrow, you're an
Oh
early
yeah.
favorite with only one team down. I don't know what that means, but
Did I
I just
draft Matt Guy,
Matt Guy. No,
Canadian County Sheriff?
you drafted. I believe when you drafted it was gay is what you
Oh,
drafted.
that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
good deal. Okay, yeah,
You want to move on to Josh?
I think
I'm
so.
happy if you want to just keep gushing
in
about
the,
my team.
in the interest of time, we probably do need to go.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So Gibbs at number 2, that's a no-brainer. He's dynamic. Maybe he's Marshall Falk. You never know. Maybe he's Kevin Falk. It could go either way. I was not a big fan of Rashad White at number 9. I'm sure Josh has some stat that shows White is super efficient in some obscure category that I don't know about, and he's due for some quirky positive regression. And he just talked himself into this guy. But to me, White is just a mediocre, unimaginative runner on a disgusting team. But I mean, Josh's team is who cares? I mean, he's got so many guys. He's so deep at every position.
He has a really fun team, and
Yeah.
my favorite moment of the draft involved Josh. Actually, my first 2 favorite moments because Josh is picking right ahead of me. I have picked 10. He has picked 9, and I thought for sure Seattle Seahawk fan, West Coast guy, he's going to take Charbonnet and just snipe him right before I get the player that I really want. And he takes White, and White was not on my board, and so when he fell to me, I felt like I won the draft at that point because I got to have both Walker and Charbonnet. It just felt like it was a big win. But then just a few picks later, I take Quentin Johnston, the rookie out of the Chargers, to pair with Herbert, and that's when Josh just feels like just screams no, and just is so sad that they didn't get the player he wanted.
Feeling.
And so I felt like I got the player I wanted, he didn't get, and I got the player he wanted next. And so it was just, for me, it just felt great. It just felt great. You know, he's 2,000 miles away, but when he was in agony, I was in ecstasy. So it was a good moment.
I thought he did a decent job filling the quarterback hole. Like I love the Detroit offense, so it stands to reason if they're as good as I think they're going to be, Goff's going to put up some gaudy numbers. Of course, it's also the Lions and it's Jared Goff, so I'm not writing this off getting screwed up in some way. But man, if they hit, Josh is so lion heavy. He's going to be a monster, and then he's got all this other talent. He may drive himself crazy. Just start sit every week. That's going to be
the Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but how does St. Brown even get in his starting lineup? Because he's got Chubb, Etienne, Lamb, and Wilson. I mean,
right. Yeah.
And Gibbs. I mean,
right. Yeah. That's not even.
He's got more skill players than he knows what to do with.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing now. He's got all these guys, all this ammunition. If Goff ends up a turd, Josh can get. There's a lot of quarterback he could get for several of those,
It's very true. Very true. Good. That's really good. Right there. Yeah, that's good. Good analysis.
And he's the kind of guy that's not afraid to pull off a 6-player deal in week 4.
It's true.
So, Jay Bond. Jay threw us a curveball with Anthony Richardson at number 3. Like, I like Richardson, but that surprised me, especially since I thought he was set with Jalen Hurts. Jay's track record of drafting first rounders, though, is pretty unassailable. So I don't want to second guess him.
I think we've talked about that through the years. I feel like Jay's team is always full of just solid players and these rookie flyers that end up hitting. Like I never want to criticize Jay either, because I just feel like you look at his team and you're just like, man, I like what he does. Yeah. Now there were certain players he drafted that I hadn't heard of. So like
that happens once or twice.
So I'm just like, I don't know who Nathaniel Dell is, but
I like him. He's one of those guys getting a lot of buzz.
Okay, yeah. When he drafted him, I was like, oh man, I feel like a dummy sometimes when sometimes people draft. But yeah. I do think that having kept a quarterback and a tight end, that he picked a quarterback and tight end at picks 3, 4 was very interesting to me.
Yeah, just doubling up, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And Hawkinson probably easily the best tight end that was available.
For
Like if
sure.
you're wanting to win right now, he was the guy to go for.
Right.
So that's a solid pick. I thought the fourth round was a little early to go defense, but I don't mind it because Dallas is really fun to have.
Oh man, he gets to root for Micah Parsons all year. How fun.
Yeah, and Diggs, Diggs
Yeah.
pulling those picks down is
Yeah.
a real treat.
Yeah.
I thought Michael Thomas in the sixth, like you're not really not much draft capital spent there, and if he's his old self, that's a steal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I liked some of those.
No, it's great.
Hellhounds, as usual, false John, no first round pick,
Right.
but he did make up for it with 3 third rounders. So he got the high ceiling rookies with Jordan Addison and Laporta. I had Laporta in circled in case I didn't get Kincaid. I thought he was a real nice rookie option. Um, Tua's the pick. And he
Yep.
didn't have to spend that much on him. Third round
Nope.
pick.
Yep.
Most that's the most compelling pick to me.
Oh, for sure. This was
Yeah.
my least favorite moment of the draft. I have a little running commentary on an Excel sheet that I have had for years. I always write every pick down, who I think's going to go, who I've predicted, my short list, my long list, and I have just this running commentary that just says Tua for 7 picks in a row. Tua, 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 and I wrote Tua exclamation point, and I was absolutely so pumped. And it goes Pittman, Herbert, Tua right before my pick. And I got to say, it was my least impressive moment of the draft. It just threw me. I just was so excited to get him. And when John took him, it was just, it was my Josh moment of agony. I mean, it was just, I thought for sure I was going to get Tua at 34. Yeah. And I thought it was a great pick. Now, of course, he could be out of the league by the second week.
He could be out of life by the second week.
Whew, yeah.
But also he could be all pro this year.
For sure.
I'm not a believer in a lot of the guys John drafted, but I can see most of them are in situations where they can blossom into something lovely.
Yeah.
Just not my kind of garden.
Well, I mean, Justin Fields and Tua is a pretty good 2 quarterback.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And if Tua hits to Jalen Waddle and they get a couple 3 touchdown games and you happen to be playing John the week that it's Tua to Waddle, it's fun to root for. The Dolphins are a fun team to root for when they're clicking. Their coach is so cool.
Yeah, Waddle's going to be out there dancing and you're just like, damn it, that was 17 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. Tolkien, Smith and Jigba seem to be the consensus rookie, best rookie. So I don't have a problem with 6th overall. That's good.
Yeah.
Sky Moore in the 3rd seemed kind of high to me, but that's because I can't make any sense of the Kansas City wide receivers. There's 5 different guys that wouldn't shock me if they were the leading receiver. So actually, same thing goes with the receiver room. Somehow the best offense in the NFL only has 2 safe fantasy starters.
Crazy.
So maybe if Sky Moore hits, awesome. I mean, that's great value. But I was staying away from that, especially that high. What'd you think of his draft?
I thought that him taking Bryce Young was one of my favorite moments of the draft. I really think he might be really good in a few years. I really think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a good season. I like Brandon's team. When you talk about blue chippers, I think that having Tyreek Hill and Christian McCaffrey in those offenses. And then I thought Brandon was smart getting some rookie stashes in Tanks Bigby and then Jackson Smith. Brandon has a lot of players from Cleveland. I noticed that he's really loaded up on the Browns. And then he has both tight ends for New Orleans. I liked Brandon's.
You can't quit him.
I like Brandon's draft. I like that he has Trevor Lawrence, and I think Brandon's problem last year was he had 3 good quarterbacks, and he always picked the wrong one to start. So I think intentionally he sabotaged his quarterback depth just to feel better about himself, not having to pick the wrong guy. So
his overall mental health is going to be better.
Yes, I can only start Trevor Lawrence. This is not my fault. Yeah. So that's his fault.
I think it's really nice Bryce Young is a Tolkien. He wouldn't seem as right on any other team.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
I was pretty ambivalent about the rest of his picks, except Tank Bigsby. Like I really wanted that dude, and I got way too careless about letting him slide. I should have gone a lot harder. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, no, me too.
Um,
I when he took him at 54, I had to pick 58. And I just was so mad I didn't take him when I took Gabe Davis. And I actually was so mad
yeah,
at myself. I took a long walk when I got home because of my failure after the Tua's pick. John picking Tua threw my draft for a whole loop. So, and I'm willing to admit that I need to do better next year.
I think for your mental health, you're going to want to forget that you drafted Gabriel Davis instead of Bigsby.
Yeah. Oh my
Because
goodness gracious.
Davis is
Yes.
not going to be on your team next year.
No, he's not. There's no way. It was a terrible pick. I feel I had, but believe me, I beat myself up enough. Let's go to the next team.
Mahoney. I don't hate Mike Williams at 7 overall. I can see why Chris went that way. I had him ranked lower quite a bit, but I can see the calculus there. It makes sense. He's a great receiver, great quarterback. Uh, James Cook with the last pick of the first round. That's an intriguing guy. Buffalo is another one of those amazing offenses where we just have two reliable starters. Maybe Cook can be that next one. Um, I thought I got Deontay Johnson in a pretty good place, 5th round. Considering how little regard Mahoney gives to tight ends, Cole Kmet in the 7th gives him at least a shot at a top 12 tight end.
Yeah.
Not really a fan of most of the guys he drafted at the spots he took otherwise, but pretty good. He got some guys I like.
Yes. My question for Chris is that I really feel like that the RT Sports who you should draft next queue. I wish that one didn't exist because I feel like Chris sticks to that pretty closely,
Oh,
pretty stock. And when you're running the draft and having to, get mad at all these hooligans who are talking too much or, doing whatever, I think sometimes you're like, I don't have time to look at all of my magazines. And
yeah.
different websites. I feel like at times he's just like, I'm just gotta get through the draft as the commish. So he picks that first pick. So his picks are just solid. His picks this year were super solid because I think that RT Sports. And to me, I'm disappointed because I want some of those Chris Lahan wild cards. I want that.
Oh, yeah.
The fantasy
Paul
magazine.
Perkins.
Yeah, I want him to pick some random guy off of some page of some article in some fantasy magazine, and we didn't get that. We got some two. So it was a good draft. It was very stock, but I'm disappointed that we didn't get some random flyers.
Pharisees. Bijan was one of those picks we get about every other draft where there's just an unquestioned number one guy. Like, I didn't love True John's draft outside of Bijan. There wasn't a single time where I felt that like pang of regret that comes when he took somebody you wanted. Um, I don't know. It's fine. He's not watching this
he got the
anyway.
one player in the draft that you feel like this is the guy that could be talked about next year as one of the top 5 players in the fantasy world. I mean,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's already on those dynasty lists. He's like the top guy. He hasn't played it down yet.
Right. I mean, watching him run that first carry, just like, oh god, this guy looks different. I mean, he looks
right
like Derrick Henry.
Maybe he is.
So I thought John may have picked up a couple more quarterbacks better than Kenny Pickett, just because Lamar seems unreliable. I do think getting Algier to back up Robinson was smart, but he had a rough off season with Stevenson, with Ezekiel Elliott signing with New England. I think Zeke's going to take quite a bit of goal line stuff from Stevenson. John hasn't had a very good team for a while. I mean, he has not won the championship since 2000. It's been 23 years since he's won a title. So maybe he got a blue chipper to build around for the future. We'll see what happens.
That's great. The Rhinos. Jeff is our version of the 2021 Rams, like winning the Super Bowl with the F them picks mantra.
Yeah.
Our defending champ did not get to choose until the last pick of the 3rd round, picks 36 and 37. He went Kendre Miller, Jonathan Mingo. I can't argue with those picks, especially at that point. And you got to remember, Jeff's bound by like an old gypsy curse that he has to draft all rookies.
Yes.
I didn't like most of his other picks. They're fine. It's hard to judge Jeff's draft against people that had 4 picks before he got his first one. Zach Evans in the 10th caught my eye. That could really work out.
Yes, I love everything you just said. This guy, he made some moves in the offseason as our defending champ, and he's the champ. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, he's the guy, he holds the belt and the trophy
Yeah.
all year long. But I'll be really interested to see how much he gave up for Calvin Ridley. I just, I'm not sure. I feel like it was a real gamble.
That was very clever.
Thank you. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of Najee Harris, but when you've got Mahomes and Eckler, you've got two of the top, 7 players who you want in our league, and I feel like that can carry you a long way. He also, it was bizarre to me. He kept the defense.
Yeah.
And so he's the champ.
Well, he got so many points from them last year, though.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. They were incredible.
So, and again, he won the championship with them. So
he's the champ. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm picking way. Yeah. I'm picking.
Yeah.
Way before him.
To me, I would not have kept them, but
yeah,
I'm not the champ either. So who cares?
Yeah.
I thought he might go a little harder for the running back backing up Najee Warren.
Yeah, Jalen Warren.
I thought he could have gone more aggressively that way, but again, he's a champ. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Not the champ, the Rompers, Chad, Mr. NFC North, turning a long last away from Tom Brady. It's time for the Kirk Cousins era, baby. 35-year-old Kirk Cousins. Look, I want to shit all over this because it's such a Chad pick, but I mean, keeping it 100, Cousins finished number 6 last year, and he was top 10 the 2 seasons before that. So in our scoring system, top 10 the last 3 years. So Cousins doesn't get treated like a top 10 guy, but that's what he consistently is. And Chad got that in the 3rd round, second quarterback off the board. So, it's a good pick. Don't expect him to get much of the other 3 quarterbacks he drafted. Mac Jones, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford. That is a Chad collection of quarterbacks.
Reminiscent of Brad's moment back over 15 years ago.
Like I would have, because the Cousins pick was a great pick, but I would have liked one of these guys to be, we just talked about how far the other rookies fell, the other rookie quarterbacks. He could have gotten any of those guys besides Richardson. At least got a chance at something, but I don't know. He got Zamir White and Marvin Mims late. I like that. I thought those were both like, I don't know, Mims this year. If Judy gets hurt like he always does, and I don't know. And if Jacobs doesn't show up, he's got Zamir White. Like there's a path for those to be great picks.
Yeah, it's just Chad's coming into the year with last year's number 1 wide receiver, number 2 wide receiver, everyone's second favorite tight end, and Mark Andrews, now a top 6 QB. He's in the best position he's been in. But my biggest disappointment with Chad's draft, if he's going to pick these random Sooner players to be on his team just for this nostalgia of it, just because he loves the Sooners, I really wish that he would have picked Tom Brady for the last pick of the last round, just symbolic. In case he would have come back later. Just lock him in right now, stash him on your bench. He may come back, week 4, week 5, and he could have still had Tom Brady on his team. So that was my only disappointment with Chad's draft.
Maybe just like an on the field coach, like Tree Rollins,
fantastic. Yeah.
Russell Sweat Sox. Speaking of Tree Rollins, I was glad when Shane took DeAndre Swift at 11th. Swift is like so highly ranked on all the lists you see, but the production just hasn't been there. He's never on the field. I was not glad when Shane took Brandon Ayuk. He was on my list of guys to try to get 3 picks after Shane drafted. I think he's the clear number 1 receiver in San Francisco. I'm not a Debo believer. Shane didn't really take anybody else I liked until the 6th round. I think Tyjae Spears could be a monster with that in the 6th round.
Spears.
That's like no investment.
For sure.
You're not worried about the knee issues with your 6th round pick. Damon Harris in the 8th is a great pick if James Cook poops the bed. And then, Garoppolo with the last round pick. If Garoppolo's playing and the system is the system that worked for him in San Francisco, we just talked about the number 2 fantasy receiver. came
Yep.
from that system.
Yeah.
So, he's got some good things there, I think.
No, I mean, he's got Josh Allen too. I mean, he was the second
Yeah.
quarterback last year. I mean,
Yeah.
he's amazing. Saquon had a great year. We'll see what happens with Saquon. There's a lot of just upheaval right now with running backs in general.
Yeah. It's a mess.
But yeah, I had Spears as another player where you're just like, he's dropping. I'm gonna get him. And then
Yeah.
Shane took him at 62. I ended up getting Brandon Cooks next, which I think is going to be a really solid wide receiver in Dallas. But it was just this moment of like, I thought for sure I'd get that other rookie running back and got sniped
Yeah.
right before I had my pick. So that's why I think drafts are fun, because of sometimes the elation and the agony.
Yeah. It's both. The dude, he took Terry McLaurin. He's a terrific receiver. I would have gone elsewhere at 5 overall, but it's not bad. It's you can't argue. I mean, it's a solid pick. If David Montgomery gets that sweet Jamal Williams touchdown action from last season, that's a steal at the end of the second. Of course, if we as a league really thought Montgomery was going to score 17 touchdowns and be running back 7 the way Williams did, he wouldn't have fallen past pick 5. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. I do like him getting Kamara and Gibson with the next 2 picks. It feels like he's going to hit with some of these guys. He got Daniel Jones in the 4th for rapist insurance. Daniel Jones was the 11th quarterback last season. Now, I'm shocked to say this because in the moment I did not believe this to be the case. But when I started going through everybody's draft, I really liked Jeremy's draft. Like
I think
it's one of my favorites.
I think that RT Sports did a great job drafting for Jeremy Carr. I think that they did a great job. I think the Q was great. The auto draft's always solid. There's going to be some flyer Laporta rookie. You're not going to have Tajay Spears, but you are sure going to have some solid picks that are going to produce. And sometimes those can win games, right? Like you've got these rookies like, they're just like, oh, that guy's never going to play. I'm going to cut him by week 4. He's not even on the 53-person roster. But you know what? You know who is? Alvin Kamara. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah. Here he comes. Yeah. It's good. We're down to our last team.
Oh, look at
Karate Kids. Charbonnet, that was a great pick at 10. Especially with your team already having Kenneth Walker. Like, I think Charbonnet is legit talent. He's great. And now you've got like this. You could start them both potentially if they're both great, but now especially if one gets hurt, like you've got the insurance both ways. I love it. I don't love Quentin Johnson, but again, he's the perfect pick for the Karate Kids. Like, it's amazing if he turns into Herbert's long-term wide receiver 1, and you get those combo points for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
I alluded to this with Chad's draft earlier, but CJ Stroud in the 7th round is ridiculous value. Like, you can't trade anything in this league as easy as a top quarterback.
Yeah.
So maybe you're loading up on Chief strategy is real interesting. Those receivers are so cheap. It's not a bad idea to just start throwing darts at the end of the draft. It's funny when Richie James ends up being the leading receiver at the end of the year.
But or Watson. Yeah, you just don't know. Yeah, I think the lottery pick is what I'm going there for. And Mahomes is so good, and he makes everybody so great. I'll be interested to see if anybody can rise to the top. I thought McKinnon was great for me last year, but I thought Pacheco was incredible in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl. So I can't stay away from the Chiefs. And at some point, I've talked to you about this before. At some point, fantasy football is about winning, but it's also about having fun. And I love the Chiefs. I love watching the Chiefs. I love Kelsey. Yeah, I want to root for those guys. And it'd be really great if Tony were able to stay healthy for the whole year, or if Rice as a rookie in the 2nd round, they drafted him in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if that ends up being Mahomes' guy for the next 5 years, then that'd be really nice to have the wide receiver for both the Chargers and the Chiefs. So
just locked in. Yeah.
I felt like, again, the Tua moment just through my draft. I wish I would have a couple other players on my team, especially Spears, that looking back, the Gabe Davis pick was just kind of one of those, just, I can't believe this happened. And I think I really reached early for the Eagles. But I love
They're going to be fun.
I love a team that I can just be like, okay, they have a week 10 bye, and I'm going to start them for every week but one.
Yeah.
I don't have to
Yeah,
worry
that's a
about
luxury
spending.
to
I don't have
not
to.
just juggle.
Oh. And I end up about every third year I pick a defense early, and then I save so much free agent bucks because when I don't pick a defense early, I'm spending $4, $7, $9 on these streaming defenses, and I feel like I spend $100 a year on defenses. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that this year. I'm going to go after actual players with my fab bucks rather than defenses. So that was my strategy
Well,
there.
next year you keep the Eagles, you save all that.
Yeah. Any other favorite moments from the draft that you had?
No. Okay. Yeah. My favorite moment was we had finished and I was outside getting another rib. I was wearing shoes and shorts and some barbecue sauce. And here comes Gerard Tashton. It's like, hello, Professor.
I love it. I love
Here
it.
I am in your church. Just got my shirt off eating ribs.
Great moments in draft history. I think that may
Yeah.
go down as one of them right
Yeah.
there. I was hoping you'd reference that. That was in my queue. That was in my
good.
queue to be shared. When I overhear you saying hello, Dr. Tashton, knowing you had your shirt off, it was priceless.
It was so hot in the church. I don't know how the rest of you stayed clothed.
I think Jeff had on looked like he was gonna go apple picking. Gonna go for a pumpkin harvest.
He had one of those Kyler Murray things under his polo shirt too. He had 3 layers. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. We're gonna try to do a preview show the week, like a couple days before the season starts, and I hope everybody watches. Bye.
Thanks. See you guys.